Welcome to another Sales Wisdom podcast. We have Mark Ackers with us today. He is co-founder and head of sales at mysalescoach.com. Going to discuss about sales, coaching, prospecting, and sales performance. This pod has been brought to you by podbuyer.com. If you want to start, scale, or be invited to a podcast like this one, or even get sponsors for your own podcast, podbuyer.com can help you do that. Get great guests like Mark, get insights from them, pick their brain, get subscribers, grow your community, and even get leads and clients. Podbuyer.com for that. Mark, welcome to the pod. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself and My Sales Coach?
Hi, Charles. Thanks for having me. Great to be on. Sure. In terms of myself, what would you like to know, Charles? What would be helpful here?
Well, who you are. What are you, human? Tell me about your bio, human.
So me as a human, not loads of exciting stuff to share. I'm 36-year-old bloke from England, father to a young boy, husband to a wife, fan of red wine, football, and that's about it. Like pretty standard guy. In terms of career, all in on sales. Very passionate about sales and the profession. And my mission really is to help as many sales professionals as possible hit the goal that's been set of them and fulfill their potential, because it is a career where so many people don't get the help and support they need to hit their goals, and they don't fulfill their potential. And that's my mission, to change that.
How does My Sales Coach help with that?
Yeah, so various studies, like countless studies, I should say, show the impact that coaching can have on an individual. And leaders, leaders of sales teams, I know they wear many hats. They're responsible for recruitment and onboarding. They're responsible for running weekly one-to-ones, training and coaching, of course, forecasting and pipeline reviews. Many of them have their own number. But the number one thing a manager can do for their people to help them hit that goal that they've set of them and to help them be the very best versions of themselves is to coach them. Countless studies show that. Here's the problem. Many people in a manager's role don't know how to coach because they've never been coached in how to be a good coach. So that's one problem. I mean, in all honesty, they're likely in that role because they were a great sales rep themselves. They would have been a top performer, consistently hit quota. The business promotes them into a manager role. But being a top performer, a contributor of revenue, doesn't mean you're automatically a great leader and a great coach. So we've got lots of people in manager roles that don't know necessarily the most effective ways to coach. They also might not have the will to coach. And then there's others, of course, that totally buy into coaching. They know it's the number one thing they can do, but time can be a challenge. They have got many hats to wear. They are often dragged in hundreds of different directions. Last minute urgent action items always occur, and they don't get to coach as much as they wish they could. My sales coach comes in at this point. We have an army of expert sales coaches available as a service. So you can subscribe your team or individuals in your team to sales coaching as a service. We match the individual to a coach, specifically someone that can help them with their skills or knowledge gaps, help them with their mindset. That coach is available on demand to work with that individual and that group to help them hit their goals and fulfill their potential. So that's my sales coach, as a sales coaching as a service.
What techniques do you use to have folks reach their goals? Because sales coaching, I mean, yeah, just spending time with your reps, I don't think like most can yield any results. Kind of hard. You need EQ, you need IQ, so technicality, you need empathy, you need to take time with your team, probably need a spice of dashboard out there, and be technical, in my opinion, to help them automate stuff and guide them in the right technical route. So what tips do you have to bring results quickly with sales coaching?
So look, you can get quick results with sales coaching if it's a very tactical session. Like, you might want a coaching session on a cold calling framework, like how to cold call. You can have a 35-minute session where the coach will tell you the principles of cold calling, help you understand that framework, and coach you on how to use that. But in general, in terms of helping someone to fulfill their potential and hit their goal, it really comes down to where in their career are they at, what are they trying to achieve, what skills gaps they've got. A coach isn't someone to train them. Like, training's vital. Everyone needs training to be successful. But here's the thing with training: it's content designed for mass consumption, right? Like, you and I, Charles, could run a training session on a variety of things and churn it out at different organizations. It's really helpful, get someone to a base level of knowledge. But how many times do people get training? And that can come in lots of formats. It can come in, classroom style or webinar. Maybe they read a book, they do that themselves, but then they do nothing with it. They don't implement these great ideas that they hear, these new frameworks, tactics, and tricks, etc. What coaching does is they get into your head and into your heart. They work with you as to where you are today, where do you want to be. They look to challenge that to make sure you're on the right course, the course that you want to be on. And then every session, it's about not just motivating and encouraging you, not just helping you self-discover the answers that you probably already know, but it's about holding you accountable, keeping you in the rhythm of success, and making sure you end up where you want to be quicker, because that coach has likely walked the path that you want to walk, has filled the shoes that you want to fill, and they can help you. So in terms of like answering your question, coaching can have immediate results, and lots of studies show that. But the reality is that the coaching comes from consistency, and that's where managers struggle. They can all run great coaching sessions, but it's, can you do that as often as the team need, without biasness, without judgment, creating a safe space where it's not about the number or KPIs, it's about the individual. And that's where managers can struggle, and having access to someone that's completely independent, who is an expert in sales to help you, that's where you're going to reap the rewards and have someone that can really, as I say, keep you in that rhythm of success.
Who do you coach, Mark? What vertical are you specialized in?
Yeah, so we've got lots of coaches, Charles. We've got coaches for SDRs, for AEs, for sales leaders, coaches for customer success, coaches for digital marketing, coaches for sales leaders and founders. Founders that want to move away from founder-led sales. We've got a wide variety of coaches. In terms of the verticals, we're not married to this vertical, but we do find a lot of our success comes in software as a service, so SaaS. But that we're not married to that. We've got lots of clients outside those verticals. But I think from an outbound prospecting point of view, that seems to be a spot that, one, we've got our networks in, two, we get a lot of traction in, and coaching is sort of widely regarded in the SaaS space.
Right. And what titles usually do you work with?
So I'm just losing you slightly, Charles. Sort of the last every other word I'm losing from you.
Oh, the titles.
I think
So SDR managers, VP sales, who do you work with?
so there's lots of wonderful titles out there in 2023. Here's the reality: individuals come and subscribe to us, so that can be a variety of titles. But again, typically the classic ones are there, like SDR, BDR, AE, and then you've got the SDR managers, we've got the sales leaders, head of new business, etc. So I think it really depends. In larger organizations, we might start with a team, let's just say the SDR team or the account executive team. Smaller organizations, it's quite common that we might speak to the owner of the business, or certainly the CRO. Again, it really depends on where we land and who reaches out to us, but a variety would be the answer.
What basic skills do SDR and AE need? So like these are two different categories and questions. What do they need to be successful? Actually, AE, I don't care much. Let's talk about SDRs. What skills do you see in the most successful ones, and what do you see lacking in the ones that quit and fail?
Yeah. So in terms of SDRs, right, let's think about this. There's a number of skills they need to have. And I do sympathize with SDRs, particularly if it's their first role. There is a lot to learn. Not only have you got to learn about, let's say you're an SDR for a SaaS company, right? It's your first job. You've actually got to learn about the SaaS world. You've got to learn about MRR, ARR, churn, structures of business, how they sell, processes, etc. Once you're in the role, not only have you now got to be an amazing writer for creative emails to stand out in what is just cluttered inboxes, not only have you got to be a great cold caller, so people give you time of day, you've also got to be able to build a personal brand that's really desirable from a lot of people. You've got to be able to be comfortable on camera, to use the tools to create video messages. You've got to be comfortable creating audio messages. You've got to be great at using technology. Like, you cannot, if you can't use, a computer provisionally and lots of different technology, like the average company has 21 things in their tech stack. So you've got to learn how to use all these bits of technology as well. So you need to have a lot about you to be successful as an SDR and have a multi-channel approach. But the things that I see in the best SDRs is they are naturally curious. So when they're in a conversation, be that with a prospect, a colleague, or their boss, they are naturally curious. They ask great questions. They're coachable, right? There's so much to learn. So they have no ego. They have a desire to learn and take feedback on board, and then go and implement it. They're fantastic researchers, right? They know who they're going after, and they can find those contacts, the ones that aren't hit up by everybody all the time. Like, we can all go and find the CRO for a FTSE 100 company, or a great big global SaaS company. We will find those people. It's about being able to find the people that not everybody's going after. And then you've got to be proactive. You've got to make sure you know where you spend your time directly links to how successful you are. And then you've got to have that, so that proactivity to spend your time in the right places and make it happen for yourself. And then the other thing is just resilient. It is a job that is full of rejection. And I don't mean like rudeness. Like, very rarely do you get people being rude to you on the phone, but I mean, it is rejection in the sense of, you can put loads of effort in, no answers, no responses to your emails, no opens, people rejecting your connection request, people not watching your video, or people watching and reading and not replying. It is a lot of rejection, and it can be hard. It can be mentally tough, but those that keep going can rescue their day at 1 minute to 5 by making one extra call, sending one extra email, and getting that response. But then they've got to come back and do it all again the next day. It is monotonous. It is grunt work. It is manual, even though there's automation in there. But there's a lot to the role. So it's a mental game as much as it is a skills game as well. But yeah, there's a lot to master as an SDR.
And what are case studies that you've seen and you've worked with business and you were like, wow, these guys are producing tons? And what do you attribute that massive success to?
So are you mean in terms of, like, they've got a high performing SDR team?
So they generated a bunch of meetings, right? High quality meetings that converted into sales. I've seen it with some of my clients that were quite relentless with A/B testing and cold email campaigns. They tested like a micro niche with a very good email, and they probably popped like 5 or 10 cold email campaigns a day to determine which one was a good one. And I've seen like major OCD in these people, like really relentless people that just don't stop and are obsessed with success. So that's a case study of mine in the agency space, targeting e-commerce with ads. What case studies do you have on your end?
So when I see high performing SDR teams, it's normally a blend of things. But first of all, good manager, in terms of that manager knows that everybody's got individual needs in the team. Those individual needs are met through training, coaching, holding accountable. They create a cookbook, so metrics that they know work for the individual to help them hit the number that they've set of them, and they hold them accountable to that. They have a super clear ideal customer profile. So they are really laser focused on who they want them to reach out to. And it's not just, I want you to go after CFOs in Europe. It's much more detailed than that. It is CFOs in these countries in Europe, this many years experience, they're this age, they work for this size company, they likely have this type of, let's say, certificate education background or whatever, and you lead with these problems. And they spend their time educating the SDR on actually what it looks like to be that CFO. When they get up every day and go to work, what is it that bothers them? What are they struggling with? What would make them happier and more successful in the role? That's what the sales managers teach the SDR. They don't focus on so much product knowledge. Like that SDR doesn't need to know about every report, every widget, every feature. They need to know why that person goes to work, how to communicate with them, what problems they're likely to face, what's going to evoke an emotional response to book a meeting. Quite simply, they get their SDRs well set up, so they spend their time in the right areas, well versed in who they're going after. They give them the right tools to be successful. They have them now nailing what they say when they're reaching out to these people to identify just one thing. Could they use the product or service? Let the AE figure out if they should. And then they coach them to be the very best version that they can be, and work with them on their individual needs. So there's quite a lot there, but a high-performing SDR team doesn't come down to luck. And obviously strong recruitment as well, recruiting the right people to come in for the right role.
Yeah, super important. What tactics have you been seeing or playbooks lately that have been working? For example, I'm pretty bullish on cold email still. I mean, yeah, lots of people doing it, but if you do it the right way and if you use a sprinkle of AI and go short and sweet, I still get a crap ton of responses. What have you seen making it rain out there?
Yeah, so email definitely got a place in a multi-channel approach. It's a really, really important tool. I think here's just one thing to say. I know you didn't ask me this question, but I think it's a really important point to stress to anybody managing SDRs or any SDRs listening, that the transition to AE, customer success, wherever you might want to go in that role, you become someone that speaks on the phone a lot, or Zoom, same thing, right? So when you're an SDR, don't hide behind email, LinkedIn messages. Make sure you are having conversations and getting comfortable speaking to your ideal customer, being comfortable in objection handling, structuring and running a conversation, answering questions, asking great questions. If you avoid the phone now and hide behind the comfort of email, you will find it harder when you make that transition into the AE role, or if you move into customer success. In terms of what I see working, email still works, but largely they're poor. The quality of emails I see largely are poor. Here's some of the sins that I see in emails that SDR send. Subject lines are quite boring. They're very generic. They don't entice you to open the email. They think they're personalizing when they're not. They're just telling that person something obvious, like, I see you're in this role at this company. I see you're hiring. I see you've raised investment. Like, that's not true personalization. That's just stating something. The next thing I see is that personalization is just forgotten about come the next sentence, because they jump straight into a self-serving product pitch. It almost makes the personalization irrelevant. When people do avoid the pitch and lead with problems, which is great, what they don't include is the so what. So they have the problem, but they don't include the so what. So like, I got an email the other day. Someone said that often they speak to people in my role. Well, actually, they got that wrong. They thought I was a CEO, which was wrong. But regardless of that, they said people in this role often spend too much time on payroll and it's full of errors. There's a problem there. That's great. But what's the so what? What happens if I spend too much time on payroll? What happens if there's errors in my payroll. That bit was missing. And that's the big thing that I see a lot of SDRs missing, is the so what. Next, the call to action. Normally it's really hard to agree to. Like, it's asking for 20 minutes, it's asking for 30 minutes, it's asking for a demo. It's too much to buy into at this stage. They need to make their asks feel light and easy to agree to. And then the sign off can always be improved. I find a PS works really well. It's a chance to have some more personalization. So email can work, but there's lots of ways in which email can largely be improved for a lot of people. The thing that I see working is that multi-channel approach, being hyper targeted in who they go after, leading with problems, and actually starting with the phone. I find people that can pick up the phone, one, can build pipeline very, very quickly, and it's pipeline with people that we know resonate with the problem, are motivated to somewhat learn more and potentially solve that, and want to speak to us. So that pipeline is full of, really pre-qualified people, particularly if you've got a super tight ICP. So I find people that use the phone first are able to build the best pipeline because it's full of people that could use the product or service. We've now just got to figure out if they would or should, based on the next conversation.
Mark, thank you so much for sharing that wisdom. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. So Mark Ackers, Mark with a K, Ackers, Ackers. I look like I look now, but 10 years younger. I haven't changed my photo in a while, but blue background. I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to follow or connect with me. I try and write content 4 times a week or so in and around the world of sales.
And I am Charles Cormier, host of Sales Wisdom Pod. If you want to start, scale, or be invited to a podcast, podbuyer.com. That was Mark Ackers.